So we are going to begin our lesson by looking at listening. That is where we begin. Listening. Listening. And we write this. Listening is the ability to accurately receive. Listening is the ability to accurately receive. Listening is the ability to accurately receive and interpret messages. And interpret messages in the communication process. In the communication process. In the communication process. Stop. It is the ability to understand and respond effectively. It's the ability to understand and respond appropriately. It's the ability to understand and respond appropriately to an oral communication. To an oral communication. To an oral communication. Stop. Listening is an active activity. Listening is an active activity. Characterized by body language. Characterized by body language. Body language. And attentive pose. And attentive pose. Body language and attentive pose. Listening is different from hearing in the following aspects. Listening is different from hearing in the following aspects. Start with hearing here. Then we have listening here in a table form. So for hearing, one, we say just perceiving the sound. Just perceiving the sound. Just perceiving the sound. But on the other side, perceives and seeks to understand the sound. Perceives and seeks to understand the sound. Number two, a passive activity. Passive activity. But on the other side, active activity. Active activity. And closely related to that, effortless activity. effortless activity. But on this side, it requires conscious effort. Requires conscious effort. Requires conscious effort. So we are saying that when we talk about listening, we are talking of an activity that entails receiving a sound, like now what you're doing, you are receiving my sound, and then you are interpreting it. To interpret means you are able to assign the meaning. And when you assign the meaning, we say you are able to understand what is it that I'm saying. Like when I say stand up, you receive that sound, you interpret it, and you know that I'm being told to stand up. And then you stand up. And that is now what we call we call the response. Like now when I say that as right, it means you are able to get that sound, and then you start writing. And this listening, it happens in regard to oral communication. Like what we are doing here now is an example of oral communication. Now, listening is a very active body process, and it is characterized by two things. There is what we call the body language. You'll be able to see someone, the way they are moving, their hands, their faces, their eyes, and any other part of their body. You'll be able to tell whether this person is listening or not listening. And then there is what we call attentive pause. As in, venye huyo mtu amekaa, inaonekana the person is attentive, the person is listening. But there are other styles someone can assume, and you tell that this person is not listening to what I'm saying. Now, listening and hearing, at times people think they are one and the same thing. And that's why at times when you're talking to someone, I'm like, are you listening to what I'm saying? I'm hearing. So when the person tells you they are hearing, that is completely different from listening. Now, hearing is the ability to get the sound, perceive the sound. Like now, as I teach, you can hear there are some other sounds from wherever they are coming from. So we are perceiving them. But we are not seeking to understand. Hiyo makelele inatoka wapi, ni gari inapita, ni pepo ama ni nini. You don't seek to understand what exactly that is saying. So that is hearing. Then, consequently, hearing is passive. As in, you don't have to make effort. That's why we are saying here is effortless. Ni kitu tu inakupata tu. Like now, hii makelele inatoka huku nje. We are not making any effort to listen to it. Inakuja tu inatupata. But for the listening, you must be active. You are making effort. Unanifuata kabisa, unaangalia even my lips, the way they are moving, so that you are able to get what you're saying. So that is what you're saying. It requires conscious effort. Good. Effective listening skills. Let's look at effective listening skills, or how to listen effectively. Effective listening skills, or how to listen effectively. How to listen effectively. Point number one. Discover your interest field. Discover your interest field. Discover your interest field. Point number two. Grasp and try to understand the content. Grasp and try to understand the content. Number three, Remain calm. Remain calm, comma. Do not lose your temper. Do not lose your temper. Since anger hampers communication. Since anger hampers communication. Number 4 is be open to accept new ideas and information. Be open to accept new ideas and information. Be open to accept new ideas and information. Number 5, jot down. Jot down. Jot down and take note of important points. Jot down and take note of important points. Another one is rephrase and summarize the speaker's ideas. Rephrase and summarize the speaker's ideas. Speaker's ideas. Number 8, keep on asking relevant questions. Keep on asking relevant questions. Keep on asking relevant questions. Another one is avoid distractions. Avoid distractions. Another one is step into the shoes of the speaker. Step into the shoes of the speaker. And try to observe things. And try to observe things from his viewpoint. Try to observe things from his or her viewpoint. Try to observe things from his or her viewpoint. So those are some of the skills or some of the things you need to do if you want to improve your listening. Number 1, ensure that you have identified your interest. What is it that makes you happy? What are you interested in? Is it gospel music? Is it secular music? Is it, what is it that you are interested in? Then you start listening that. If you are listening to something you are not interested in, the probability that you get it well is very, very low. We are also saying that you try to grasp and understand the points as they are being said. Make effort to understand. Then remain calm, especially if someone is communicating something inakukasirisha. Don't be quick to show your emotions, especially on the negative. Contain them, be calm, wait until they finish so that you get all the information. Lakini ukikasirika haraka, you disrupt them. Actually, that's one of the things tumesema there, avoid distractions. So wait until the person finishes. Although I know there are times some people are talking to you and you don't want to hear anything they are saying. You'd rather they keep quiet. So akifungua mdomo tu hivyo na wewe unafungua unamnyamazisha. But in a normal circumstance, it is said you keep your cool. The other thing is you should be open to new ideas and new information. Unfortunately, we have some people who think that the only thing they know is all that there is to be known. They would not want to hear anything new. They would not want to hear. They don't want to hear a different perspective. But actually, one of the marks of someone mwenye ameenda shule na mwenye hajaenda shule is the ability to accept new ideas. Now that umekuja shule, umeona things in a different what? Ways. Umegundua si vile tu ulikuwa unafikiria. There is a different face of it. So you need to give time and get to know what is this other different face. That's what we are saying. You also need to step into the shoes of the speaker so that you see things from where they are coming from. From where they are coming from. You see, someone could be, for example, you have been given food of a lunch hour, and someone is very happy about the food. They are tasting well. Mwingine the same food anasema is not tasting well. So what is the truth? What is the truth? You need to check. Mwenye anasema inaonja vizuri, most likely hajakula anything the whole day. Hata jana hakula. So this is the food anapata in the last 12-15 hours. So ukipata saa hiyo si anasikia ikiwa tamu. Lakini mwenye anasema si tamu, maybe ametoka kukula the delicious meal 2 hours ago, ameshiba. So anaonja tu kidogo anasema this is not good. Lakini it's not because the food is not good, ni venye yeye ameshiba ama amekula chakula kingine which was more sweet to them. So don't just take things as they are being said. Don't just take things as they are being said. It's good to know huyu anasema hivi kwa nini, huyu analia kwa nini, huyu anafurahi kwa nini. Get to the shoes of the person. Then in the process, keep on asking questions, but obviously ask what? Relevant questions. Don't keep on disrupting. Don't keep on asking irrelevant things. Especially if you are several, there are some things you can ask your neighbor without necessarily asking the speaker. We are also saying it is good you keep on noting down some points that are being said that you think are important. And it's also good to take time and analyze the information on your spare time. Like now that you are listening to me, you can decide after listening to Kimani, I will never go to the library to read Tagoja Mtihani. And there are people who are like that. So yeah. My daughter is like that. I rarely see her read. Yeye ni wale watu wanasikiza, hiyo imetosha. But majority of us, we are not in that category. We would want that after umesikiza, you go now, take time, you read the notes again. When you read the notes again, you analyze them, you get to understand even what was being said well. Actually, and I know you have experienced this, as I talk here, there are some things you don't really understand. But when you go now to read on your own, unasema, oh, no wonder alikuwa anasema hivi na hivi. No wonder ilienda hivi. Because now, when you are saying no wonder ilienda hivi, you are now improving the listening process by analyzing the information in your spare time. Levels of listening. Levels of listening. Levels of listening. Number one is called ignoring listening. Ignoring listening. Ignoring listening. And we explain kidogo. This is the most basic. This is the most basic. Full stop. Zero effort is made to listen. Zero effort is made to listen. Zero effort is made to listen. So that is the ignoring listening. When someone is ignoring you, it's the most basic, the lowest level. They make no effort to listen to what you are saying. Number two is pretending listening. Pretending listening. I write that this at least gives the appearance of listening. This at least gives the appearance of listening. It works well until the speaker asks a question. It works well until the speaker asks a question. It works well until the speaker asks a question. So that's where someone is pretending to be listening, but they are not listening. And it works well until sasa ulize swali, nimesema nini? Nimesema nini? That's when now mtu anastuka na kumbe. Yeah. So it works well until swali ulizwe. Number 3, selective listening. Selective listening. This involves some basic effort. This involves some basic effort. It entails listening only. It entails listening only to some parts of the message. To some parts of the message. Stop. It aims to respond. It aims to respond. It aims to respond with some kind of winning comeback. Winning in quotes. Some kind of winning comeback. Stop. It results in increased misunderstanding and miscommunication. It results in increased misunderstanding. Misunderstanding and miscommunication. That's what we call selective listening. It is where you are putting some effort, not a lot of effort, but some. And this effort, unaweka kusikiza a few parts. And these are parts that are of interest to you. And these parts are the ones which you think the speaker is making a mistake. The speaker is making an error. That's why we are saying it aims at making what we are calling a winning comeback. A winning comeback. So when unasikiza mtu, unangoja tu pahali at a mess, then you start shouting from there. It's like when I teach in some of my classes, because of the advantage of where I come from, at times when I'm talking of this, you will think I'm talking, when I'm talking of this, you think I'm talking of this. Play. So some students, or there is something I teach called learning curve. Supposed to be like this, learning curve in mathematics. So some students will write like this. So there are some guys who will wait until I mention this and, excuse me, what are you saying? Which one do we write? So mtu anangoja tu where you make what? A mistake. Another case where you find this being used is in politics. If you follow politics, for example, there is a time Raila was quoted of, Honorable Raila was quoted of talking of Ukristo ikiwa kasuba na inastahili kushughulikiwa. Remember him making that statement? Okay, if you did not, maybe you don't follow politics. So he was talking about religions, and he, in his talk, in his very many words, he mentioned that Christianity is so wide, and it was is so widespread, and it was brought by Mzungu, and we need to see how other religions can also be supported as we stop or as we control the spread of Christianity. So those who are against him walichukua tu hako that hii dini ya Kristo ni kasuba, tunastahili kuipunguza, and they circulated that because they were looking at making what a winning comeback. Wanachukua tu hako, they don't take the whole context. Just when the president was talking about gas, mtungi, which is maybe that one we should have had. Again, those who are against the president walichukua tu hako, mtungi, and they started now circulating that. But if you follow the discussion, actually even what he had said earlier, where they were quoting him, he had not contradicted himself. But people who are waiting to make a comeback, wanangoja tu kakitu kadogo tu kanachukuliwa, and then it is blown. In classrooms like this one, we see students, maybe you have done this paper elsewhere, narudia, now you have some notes from another teacher, and maybe you don't believe that I'm a very good teacher. So what you do, unakuja na hizo notes kwa class, ndio ulisoma kwingine. So unaenda ukifuatilia venye naandika. So kama mwalimu wako alikwambia hii ni namba 3, ama tuseme hii ni namba venye nimepanga, namba 1 hivi, namba 2, namba 3. Then sasa badala ya mimi niseme namba 2 ni pretending, niseme ni selective. So hata kabla ngoja uone kama namba 3 ndio nitasema pretending, unaniambia no, the second one should be selective. Because kuna mahali nafuata na unatafuta nini? Makosa. You are looking for winning back. That's why when some people come to accuse others to you, you need to be very careful to know what exactly they say. Mtu alikuja kuambia alisikia fulani akisema hii, ndio huyo aseme hiyo alikuwa amesema nini ingine. You need to know the context. Number 4 inaitwa attentive listening. Attentive listening. Attentive listening. Either this pays attention and internalizes the message. This pays attention and internalizes the message. Pays attention and internalizes the message. First of all, it involves eye contact. It involves eye contact, thinking to understand, reflecting, rephrasing, and other tools to maintain engagement. Yeah, that is attentive listening. I think that is very clear. You pay attention, you analyze the message, you maintain the eye contact, unaangalia mwenye anaongea, like now what we are doing here, and you do anything else that can be done to hakikisha that you fully understand. The last one inaitwa empathic listening. Empathic. Empathic. Or empathetic. Some people call it empathetic or empathic. I realize that this is the highest level of listening. This is the highest level of listening. Stop. It requires the greatest amount of mental, It requires the greatest amount of mental and emotional energy. It requires the greatest amount of mental and emotional energy. First of all, it also requires high focus. It also requires high focus. And seeks to know. And seeks to know the speaker's frame of reference. The speaker's frame of reference. Seeks to know the speaker's frame of reference. Speaker's frame of reference. So what we are saying here is empathic or empathetic. Empathy is when you seek to understand the position of the other person. You get to know their emotions, where they are coming from. So we are saying is the highest level because you understand, you tend to identify with the person. When we are doing counseling, we are taught to be empathic, to do empathetic listening. Kuonyesha huyo mtu mnaongea na yeye, you may not really understand what they are going through. You may not really feel like they are feeling, but you show them that you can try to imagine. For example, when someone has lost something, maybe someone has failed an exam and they are crying. You cannot tell them that I'm also crying, I'm feeling the pain. Or someone has lost a loved one. You cannot tell them, what you tell them is, I can try to imagine what you are going through. I can try to imagine what you're experiencing. And also the opposite is true. When someone is very happy, they have passed the exam, they are graduating, or they have gotten whatever they have desired for many years. You again cannot tell them you know what they are feeling. You can only imagine. So it requires a lot of effort, and it seeks to know the speaker's frame of reference. Now, frame of reference, as we use it in psychology, it has to do with where is this person coming from. So when someone is making a comment, going by the example I gave earlier about food, so where is this person coming from? What experience do they have with this person? And this is usually well illustrated when a politician makes a comment. Raila akisema kitu, kuna wale wanakasirika na kuna wale wanafurahi. Ruto akisema kitu, kuna wale wanakasirika na kuna wale wanafurahi. The same thing. So you need to know what is the frame of reference. So kama huyu ni supporter wa Kenya Kwanza, anything Ruto says is okay, and anything Raila says is bad. Kama huyu ni supporter wa Azimio, anything Ruto says is bad, anything Raila says is good. And I don't know whether you have ever even wondered why some people would support some things. Like recently, there has been this issue of Mungiki. Those who come from Central Kenya and Kikuyu are known. And I've had some people, depending on who has spoken, they are either supporting or opposing. Instead of looking at the issue of Mungiki as Mungiki. So kwanza unaangalia, Nikashagwa amesema, hii ni ya kusupport ama ni ya kupinga. Ni Raila amesema, hii ni ya kusupport ama ni ya kupinga. So it's called the frame of reference. You need to understand where people are coming from. On your own, utaangalia hii swali ya August 2022, question 2B. August 2022, question 2B. And pilot of December 2021. Question 1B. Question 1B. Make sure you get the papers. Have you gotten the physical papers? Yeah. You have, eh? So you can talk about your conception. We should give you all the papers, eh? Yes. Yeah. Good. So those are the 5 levels of listening: the ignoring, the pretending, the selective, the attentive, the empathetic. Kama nyinyi mko kwa level gani hapa? Mko kwa attentive. Mko kwa attentive. Good. Let's now look at listening process. Listening process. Listening process. Like that, or the Joseph DeVito, or the Joseph DeVito, or the Joseph DeVito have divided the listening process, has divided the listening process into 5 stages as follows. Has divided the listening process into 5 stages as follows. One, receiving. Explain that this is intentional focus on the message. This is intentional focus on the message. Intentional focus on the message. First of all, it requires the receiver to filter out. It requires the receiver to filter out other sources and stimuli. Other sources and stimuli. The primary tool used is the ear. The primary tool used is the ear. The primary tool used is the ear. So that is what you're calling receiving. You just focus on the information and you eliminate any other distraction that could be coming. And we just use the ear. Number 2 is called understanding. 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 And write that this is an attempt to learn. This is an attempt to learn or get. This is an attempt to learn or get the meaning of the message. To learn or get the meaning of the message. It is not always easy. It is not always easy. The tool used is the brain. The tool used is the brain. Tool used is the brain. So that is about understanding. We are saying is where you're trying to get or to learn the meaning of what is happening or what is being said. And we are saying this one is not easy. Understanding is not very easy. That's why you will always hear some people being told, where you're not understanding. Why are you taking too long to understand what I'm saying? Yeah, because it's not very simple. and we use brain. Number 3 is remembering. Is remembering. Remembering. And write that this is the recollection and repeating of the words. This is the recollection. This is the recollection and repeating of the words of the speaker. This is the recollection and repeating of the words of the speaker. Correction and repeating of the words of the speaker, first of all. It aims to support understanding. Aims to support understanding. I think that is very, very clear. Next, anaitwa evaluating. 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 And write that this is thinking critically about the message. This is thinking critically. Thinking critically about the message. And deciding what to do with the message. And deciding what to do with the message. Deciding what to do with the message. Yeah, that's what we call evaluation. It is where you critically think. Now, when we talk of critical, it is where you seek to go beyond what is presented. For example, when we meet and I tell you my name is Kimani, you can just be satisfied with that. That's okay, we call it the no meaning. But if you become critical, you want to ask me, Kimani, how do you write the word Kimani? What is the meaning of the word Kimani? Do you have any relationship with another Kimani I saw? So you try to ask more. That's what we call critical thinking. Don't just be satisfied with what has been presented to you. Seek to know more that has not been said. Because the name Kimani obviously has a spelling. The name Kimani has a meaning. The name Kimani maybe has a relationship or has no relationship with another Kimani you had seen somewhere or you had met. So those things all, sijakwambia spelling, sijakwambia meaning, sijakwambia that relationship. I've only told you I'm Kimani. So if you are a critical thinker, you are able to seek more than what has been presented. And that is how you should approach life. Don't just be always satisfied with what has been presented. Because as I've said, people do not just present. There is a motive. Yeah. When I come and I say hi to you, most likely I'm not just saying hi. There is a motive behind it. When I come, I give you something or I ask something from you. I'm not just asking or I'm not just giving. There is a motive behind it. So you only get to know that motive when you become critical. When you come to section 2, I'll be telling you when we run QA that when the offers are given, you need to be very critical because once you shachukua, the time to pay will come and you cannot run away. Kama ulikula, lazima wakati wa kulipa ulipe. Because there is nothing for free in this world. So how do you know what you'll be called upon to pay? It is by being critical. You become critical, you ujue hii nikichukua, kesho nitangojewa pale nilipe. Will I be in a position to pay? If yes, then kula leo. If no, wachana nayo. That's about critical thinking. The next is responding. Responding. Right, this is providing the feedback to the speaker. This is providing the feedback to the speaker. Full stop. Yes. Okay, so let's continue. Tulikuwa tumemaliza hii? Oh, tukasema this is providing the feedback to the speaker. Okay. Still on the same point, right? Formative feedback. Formative feedback is given while the speaker is given while the speaker is still engaged in the act of communication. Still engaged in the act of communication. Summative feedback. Summative feedback. Summative feedback is given when the speaker has concluded the message. It's given when the speaker has concluded the message. So that is about responding. You are giving the feedback to the speaker, and this feedback can be given in the process. Like now when I'm still in the lesson communicating, if you give me the feedback, that is called formative. But if you wait until I finish, and then you give me your views, that is called summative. That is called summative. So you can check the question of April 2022, question 5C. April 2022, question 5C. And also the question of November 2020, question 6C. November 2020. Question 6C. Other technique, let's look at other techniques for effective listening. Other techniques for effective listening. Other techniques for effective listening. So I'm calling them other because we had looked at ways of improving listening or how to improve our skills. So number one, decide to listen. Decide to listen. Full stop, but still on the same point. Listening is a choice. Listening is a choice. Full stop. Still on the same point. Stop talking. Stop talking. So we have said decide to listen. Ukasema listening is a choice and you stop. talking. Number 2, let go of your own personal agenda. Let go of your own personal agenda. Let go of your own personal agenda and prejudices. Let go of your own personal agenda and prejudices. So stop still on the same point. Create room in your mind for different views. Create room in your mind for different views. Number 3, be curious about how other people see the world. Be curious about how other people see the world. Stop still on the same point. Seek to understand all. Seek to understand all and ask open-ended questions. Seek to understand all and ask open-ended questions. Number 4, listen with your eyes. Listen with your eyes and pay attention to all the visual cues. And pay attention to all the visual cues. Visual cues. Another one is keep eye contact with the speaker. Keep eye contact with the speaker. Stop. It shows interest and encourages the speaker. It shows interest and encourages the speaker. Number 6 is ask questions for clarifications. Ask questions for clarifications. But not as a way of responding. Ask questions for clarification, but not as a way of responding. Number 7 is stay present. Stay present. Stay present. Stop. Do not let your mind wander. Do not let your mind wander. So you can note these questions of November 2018, question 7C. November 2018, question 7C. November 2017, question 6A. November 2017, question 6A. So those are other additionals on how you can be an effective listener. Number 1, we are saying decide to listen. Listening is a choice. No one can force you to listen. It is a choice you make. And when you make the choice, then stop making what? Noise. Stop talking. Just keep quiet and listen. And as you listen, remove any personal prejudice, any personal agenda, because they kind of act as a veil. Unaona, like if you have been told money is very bad, before ukuje hapa, huyo jamaa ni mbaya sana. So when I'm talking, wewe unaona mtu mbaya, hiyo message, hiyo agenda iko kwa kichwa yako, it is preventing you, inakuwa kama curtain, kama pasia. So remove your personal agenda, remove any prejudice, any grudge you could be holding against that person. Unfortunately, people pay attention to what they know more in the past than what is being said. And therefore, they look at a statement not in its substance, but as in who is saying. I've just given an example of politics. Ruto anasimama anasema kitu, ama Raila anasimama anasema kitu. Instead of looking at that thing in its own merit, the first thing ni nani amesema. After tumejua nani amesema, now we know hiyo ni ya kupinga ama ni ya kusupport. And that's why you hear people have been brainwashed, because we do not think of the material content. We are just looking at who has said, and when we know who has said, we are opposing or we are supporting. You should not allow that to happen. Actually, one of the processes we have said, we should be critical in the evaluation. The other thing is be curious to know how the other people see the world. People do not see the world the same way. The way a man sees the world is not the way a woman sees the world. You need to appreciate that. The way a person who is brought up in the village will see the world is not the way a person who is brought up in town will see the world. It's completely different. Those of us who are brought up in the village, maybe you know breakfast in Uganda and in Pakistan. Those of us who are brought up in the village. But those who are brought up in town, that's not the case. They know breakfast ni mkate, sausages. Even when people later on mature and they get married, those of us like myself who are born in the village, brought up in the village, when it is holiday, tukipata pesa, akili yangu iko Murang'a. So if you're asking me whether I'm going for a holiday, I'm telling you I'm going to Mashinani. But someone who is brought here in Nairobi, akili yake maybe iko Mombasa, iko Dar es Salaam, iko huko juu. Yeah. So we see the world in a different way. Seek to know, seek to understand. And actually, in the other thing there we have said, or we normally say in communication, seek to understand the other person first before you seek to make them understand you. Kwanza tafuta kuelewa huyo mtu. Then ukishamuelewa, make them now understand you. But if you want them to understand you first, it will not always work. The other thing is listen with your eyes. As a person is talking, muangalie kabisa. Actually, we have to put the eye contact. Now, the eye contact has two advantages. One, it encourages the speaker kumuonyesha that you are actually interested in what is being said. You are listening. Like now, the way mnaniangalia, that tells me you are listening and you're interested in what I'm saying. Number two, it helps the receiver to be able to judge or to get the information that is not being said by words of the mouth. Because I could be saying something by my mouth, by my word, but that is not exactly what I mean. And I told you the other day, our body language is the most sincere way of communicating. If I have a problem with you, hata nikikusimailia, if you are keen, utaona your smile is genuine. If I'm pretending I'm crying with you, like what they do in some funerals, mtu anakuja na anaanza kulia na wengine, you can tell hii ni kujifanya tu, hii si machozi ya ukweli. Ama mtu anakuja na kuna kitu anataka kwako mpaka analia, but you can tell hii ni ile inaitwa machozi ya nini, ya chura ama nini. You can tell when you look at the eye. That's why when some people are, and I told you yesterday or the other day, when someone really wants to know your true position, atakwambia niangalie kwa macho useme hivyo unasema. Because when you look at a person through the eyes, it is very difficult that utadanganya. Unaweza danganya kwa maneno ya mdomo, but your emotions, you may not danganya. Okay, let's now look at barriers to effective listening. Barriers to effective listening. One, focusing on personal agenda. Focusing on personal agenda. Number two, experiencing information overload. experiencing information overload. Number 3, criticizing the speaker. Criticizing the speaker. Number 4, getting distracted by emotional noise. Getting distracted by emotional noise. Another one is getting distracted by external noise. Another one is experiencing physical difficulties. Experiencing physical difficulties. You can note the question of December 2021, question 7. December 2021, question 7. So basically, those are some of the barriers that will interfere with your listening. You focus on your personal agenda, the prejudices that I've said. Actually, sijui kama umeona watu mtu amekasirika na mtu mpaka anatoka from the forum. Maybe ni kwa church ama ni kwa meeting ama whatever. Mtu anaongea, alafu mtu mwingine anaudhika mpaka they just go away. It is failing to control their personal agenda. Inakuzuia. The other thing is if you have a lot of information coming, a lot of information, huyu anakuongelesha, huyu anaongea ama anaongea haraka, hiyo overload prevents effective listening. When you start criticizing the speaker, that's now when you start just looking at the negatives. Venye ana pronounce maneno, venye amevaa, venye anakaa. There are very many things. Like now, the way I'm talking and I'm in front of you, you can look at me and judge very many things. Very many things. Waanze kusema anakaa hivi, anaongea hivi, anafanya hivi, bona isikia hivi. So all those they distract. If you have emotional problems, your own issues, maybe you have some difficulties emotionally that you are undergoing, they also prevent you from concentrating. Actually, when we are counseling people, one of the things we check whether their mental health is okay is the ability to concentrate. If you find someone is not concentrating, it could be a show that they have an issue with their mental health. External noise, there could be a lot of noise coming, physical difficulties or physical distractions, things that are coming and distracting you. Have I given you the December 2021?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let us now look at interviews. Interviews. I don't know whether I start that. Okay. Interviews. Let's now discuss interviews. Like that. An interview is a face-to-face conversation. An interview is a face-to-face conversation between individuals. Is a face-to-face conversation between individuals, whereby one person is asking questions. Whereby one person is asking questions and the other person is answering the questions. The other person is answering the questions. The other person is answering the questions. First of all, it is basically carried out on one-on-one. It's basically carried out on one-on-one. One-on-one, comma, one on many, one on many, comma, many on one, many on one, and many on many. First of all, an interview is a formal way of recruiting personnel. An interview is a formal way of recruiting personnel in a company. It's a formal way of recruiting personnel in a company. So that is what we call an interview. It is a one-on-one conversation whereby one person is asking questions and the other person is responding. And we are saying you go to an interview, you find there are just two people, one on one, or there are several. Now in the several, you can have one person asking many people questions, or many people asking one person some questions, or many asking many. Yeah. Reasons of carrying out interviews. Reasons of carrying out interviews. Reasons of carrying out interviews. One, verification of information provided. Verification of information provided. Verification of information provided. Information provided through application documents. Verification of information provided through application documents. Number two, seeking additional information. Seeking additional information. Not contained in the documents. Seeking additional information not contained in the documents. Number three, to ascertain existence of skills. To ascertain existence of skills. Existence of skills that cannot be expressed in writing. That cannot be expressed in writing, such as creativity, humor, knowledge of the subject matter, etc. Number 4, ascertain the relationship between the company and the individual. Ascertain the relationship between the company and the individual. Another one is provide an exposure. Provide an exposure to help the candidate understand. Exposure to help the candidate understand the profession clearly. To help the candidate understand the profession clearly. Another one is provide experience about interviews. Provide experience about interviews. About interviews. Both to the interviewer and interviewee. Both to the interviewer and interviewee. Another one is judge the weaknesses and strengths of the individual. Judge the weaknesses and strengths of the individual. The last one is negotiations of salaries. Negotiation of salaries. Yeah, so we are saying that it is important to undertake interviews for those reasons. One, when we meet with the candidates, we are able to discuss the salaries, we're able to negotiate the salaries. Number 2, we are able to judge the weaknesses, the strengths of the candidate. And we are also saying it gives us an opportunity to be able to judge the skills or the characters that cannot be written on the CV. So I'm saying that there are some skills that some people have which you cannot write on the CV, like how creative they are, how talkative they are, how shy they are, those kind of things. Then when you meet in the interview room, you are able to verify the information that has been provided on the application document, whether that information is true or not true. Then we are also able to get more information from that person. And we also get to know what is the relationship between this person and the company. And that's why you ask them, what do you know of this company? What do you know about Destiny? What have you had? And you get to know that. Interviews are also good because they help someone to be exposed, one, on how interviews are conducted. If you have never attended an interview, the moment they call you for an interview, you start shaking because you don't know how do you go about it. Where do I start? Where do I end? What do I say? What do I do? What don't I do? But when you have gone to interviews, they give you that exposure. And then they also help you to know more about the profession because they ask you some questions and some of them maybe unagundua hujui, lakini ulisoma ama ulikuwa umefikiria unajua. But out of that interview, you go home knowing that I need to go and research on this. I need to go and look into this more. So it gives you more exposure as far as the job is concerned, as far as the interview is concerned. And they also help the interviewer. They also become more skilled in the interview process. So I think that is all about the reasons or the purposes why we undertake interviews. Good. Let's look at types of interviews. Types of interviews. Types of interviews. Number one, naitwa selection interviews. Selection interviews. And write that this is where a personnel selector, this is where a personnel selector through personal contact, personnel selector through personal contact, comma, provides himself with behavior to observe. Provides himself with the behavior to observe. The behavior to observe in order to assess. In order to assess the candidate's suitability for a post. In order to assess the candidate's suitability for a post. They are normally done during recruitment and during promotions. They are normally done during recruitment and during promotions. Yeah, that's what we call the selection interview. It is where someone comes with a list of the behaviors to observe, the characters to observe on a person, and they decide how suitable the person is for the post they have applied for. And we are saying they are more used when we are recruiting people, employing people for the first time, and when we are seeking to promote them. So let's now look at number two, appraisal. appraisal interviews. Appraisal interviews. And rather, this is where a manager examines and evaluates. This is where a manager examines and evaluates. Manager examines and evaluates an employee's work behavior. An employee's work behavior by comparing it with preset standards. By comparing it with preset standards, comma, preset standards, comma, documents the results of the comparison. Documents the results of the comparison and uses the results to provide feedback to the employee. And uses the results to provide feedback to the employee to show where improvements are needed. To show where improvements are needed and why. Improvements are needed and why. First of all, they help determine who needs training. They help determine who needs training. Who needs training, comma, promotion, comma, demotion, comma, transfer, comma, retention, and firing. Retention and firing. So that is what we are calling the appraisal. They are done to help us assess the gaps that are there. That's why we are saying when we have compared, we communicate to the person to know where improvements are needed and why. So those are the two types, although we have others. So when we meet next, we shall go to number 3. So we stop there for now. We pick up from there in our next lesson. Thank you.